The Houston Texans just ripped up the normal offseason script, and they did it before anyone was ready. 1 minute, it feels quiet. Next thing you know, the front office is making moves like the house is on fire. This is not a small tweak. This is a loud message that the Texans are done waiting. And the part that should grab you is what it says about C.J. Stroud. Because when a team moves this fast, it usually means they are chasing something they cannot afford to miss. First, Titus Howard is out. And that alone tells you Houston is serious about changing how this offense is built. Then the twist hits. David Montgomery is in, and it is not just a name move, it is a style move. The Texans watched a run game fall apart, watched short yardage turn into stress, watched drives die when they needed one clean push. Now they bring in a back who lives in that tough space, the kind of runner who does not need perfect lanes to get you something. Last season he played 17 games and still put up 716 rushing yards while sharing work in Detroit with Jahmyr Gibbs, and now Houston pairs him with rookie Woody Marks and Nick Chubb already in the room. But here's what nobody is saying loud enough. The speed of these moves is the story. This was not random, it was planned pressure, and it puts the spotlight on what comes next for the offensive line and the cost of getting David Montgomery right now. Some people are going to love the idea. Others are going to stare at the price and feel uneasy because the details decide whether this was smart or desperate. Let me walk you through exactly what went out and what came in, because once you see the full trade package, this whole day starts to look a lot sharper. But before we jump into that, hit that like and subscribe button for more Texans and all the NFL content. Let's aim for 350 likes on this video. The Houston Texans did 2 deals in the same day, and the loudest part is not the rumors. It is the exact pieces that changed hands. For a few hours, the details felt like they were sliding around. One report says one thing, another report says something else, and fans are left guessing what is real. That is when you stop reacting to the hype and start looking at the receipt, because the receipt tells you what the front office truly valued and what it was willing to pay to get it. Trade 1 is clean. The Texans sent Titus Howard to Cleveland for a 5th-round pick. Then Cleveland moved fast to line up a 3-year extension worth $63 million with the plan to use him at right tackle. Trade 2 is where the confusion started, because the first wave of reports pointed to a 5th, then it settled into a 4th, plus a 7th, plus Juice Scruggs going to Detroit, with David Montgomery coming to Houston. The key detail is which 4th, because Houston has 2 of them. One sits around 106, the other sits around 128, and that gap changes how this deal feels. One more thing people miss. None of this becomes official until the new league year opens on March 11th, so the Texans are acting early, but the paperwork still has a clock on it. Now ask yourself why these numbers matter so much, because the picks are not just picks, they are leverage, and leverage is the whole game right now. If the Texans were comfortable paying this cost before the market even opens, that means the front office sees something coming. Either prices are about to jump, or targets are about to vanish, or both. And that leads straight into the next question. What made Nick Caserio choose urgency over patience? And what move is he trying to avoid once free agency turns into a bidding war? The Houston Texans are acting like they saw the future and decided they do not want to be stuck reacting to it. When a front office moves this early, it is rarely about excitement. It is about fear of what the market becomes once the lights turn on. The pressure is simple. Wait too long, and your options shrink. Move first, and you control the lane. And that tells you the Texans are not just chasing upgrades, they are trying to avoid a problem that can wreck an entire offseason in one sloppy week. Look at the running back conversation that was building. It was getting expensive fast, and it was getting messy too. Breece Hall is the kind of name that triggers tags and keeps teams guessing. Kenneth Walker is the kind of name that drives price. And Travis Etienne is the kind of name that makes you pay, even if you hesitate. Even Rico Dowdle becomes a real debate when teams start throwing money around for anyone they think can carry a load. The Texans did not want to stand in that storm, hoping the numbers stay friendly. They wanted a controlled answer before panic sets in. And there is another layer most people skip: trust. A few years ago, the Texans were tied to Saquon Barkley talk, and the lesson is brutal. You can be willing to pay and still lose because the player picks a different path. That kind of loss hurts more than missing out. It leaves you late, scrambling, and forced into worse choices. So this time, the Texans chose certainty, even if it cost more up front, because missing entirely would cost even more later. Now the real test begins, because none of this matters if the offensive line plan is not stronger than last year, and that is where the entire story turns next. The Houston Texans can talk about new weapons all they want, but the real fight is up front, and it is getting tense. When a team starts clearing space on the line, it is not just a roster shuffle. It is an admission that last season left scars. Every drive that died, every third and short that turned into a problem, it all points back to the same place: the line. And right now, Houston is staring at it like it is the whole offseason. Here's the uncomfortable part: the answers are not clean yet. Ariante Ursary might have to slide, or he might be asked to hold a spot that gets tested every single week. Trent Brown is a name people bring up, but the question is never talent. It is how much you can truly count on him when the season gets long. Jake Andrews has a chance. Jarrett Patterson is in the mix. And Blake Fisher is a real discussion point, whether fans like it or not. Even last year, you saw the staff trying different looks after injuries and struggles. You saw Cam Robinson come into the story. You saw Laken Tomlinson get used. You saw how hard it was to find a steady five. That is why this feels like more than change. It feels like a reset. So now the pressure flips to the next swing. Who do they trust to stabilize this unit fast? Isaac Sumalo is the kind of veteran that can calm chaos. Kevin Zeitler brings a tough edge. And if you want a center that can raise everyone around him, Tyler Linderbaum and Connor McGovern are the types of names that shift the whole conversation. Even Braden Smith is the kind of move that changes the tone at tackle. And if a dream door ever opens with Trent Williams, the entire line gets a new leader overnight. And once you know which path Houston takes up front, you will finally understand the real reason they went and grabbed that new runner, because his value only shows up if the wall in front of him actually holds. The Houston Texans did not trade for a highlight machine, they traded for certainty. David Montgomery is the kind of back who makes defenses feel the hit, even when they guess run. That changes the mood of an offense fast. It tells the locker room this team is done being pushed around, and it tells every opponent they are going to have to earn every stop. What nobody talks about enough is how a runner like David Montgomery makes life cleaner for CJ Stroud. When a defense has to respect the downhill threat, the whole field opens. Not because of magic, because of fear. Linebackers hesitate. Safeties take one step forward, and suddenly windows feel bigger. Even his time in Detroit beside Jahmyr Gibbs matters. Because living in a shared backfield teaches you to stay sharp with fewer chances. And it teaches you how to win the ugly snaps when everyone in the stadium knows what is coming. And the shocking part is, the Texans are buying all of that without chaining themselves to a long deal. David Montgomery is owed $6 million for the 2026 season, and his contract gives Houston control without being trapped if things change. He turns 29 in June, which means this is the moment where pride and urgency hit at the same time. And that is when a tough runner can become a tone setter. Now the question is where that tone shows up first, because the next part of this story lives in the snaps that decide games, the short field moments where a season can flip in one drive. The Houston Texans have been living in the worst kind of football moments, the ones where you are close enough to score, but you still cannot finish. You know the feeling. First and goal, the crowd expects points, then the drive stalls and the energy drops. What makes this trade feel different is the problem it targets. Last season, the Texans were 29th in yards per carry and 31st in rushing touchdowns per game. And that is not just a stat. That is a warning sign that your offense is too easy to defend near the goal line. When teams do not fear your run, They hunt your quarterback. That is where David Montgomery fits like a key in a lock. Not because he is flashy, but because he is built for ugly snaps. The kind where the defense crowds the line and dares you to run anyway. Those are the snaps that decide games, and they are the snaps that protect C.J. Stroud without even touching him. If Houston can punch the ball in from 2 yards out, it changes the whole call sheet. It forces defenses to play honest. It keeps play action alive, and it stops those long third downs that turn into hits on the quarterback. Now look at what this does for everyone else in that running back room. Woody Marks can be used in cleaner spots, out in space, on quick throws, on plays where his feet matter more than his power. Jawhard Jordan and British Brooks become chess pieces instead of emergency answers. And that is how a backfield starts to make sense. But the twist is still hanging in the air. Because if this move is really about fixing the hardest part of the offense, then the price has to match the impact. And that leads straight into the next question. Did Houston pay the right cost for this fix, or did they pay the rush fee? The Houston Texans just put themselves in the middle of a loud argument, and it is not about effort, it is about value. The second you hear a mid-round pick leave the building, people start doing math in their head. Then they start doing it with emotion. Some fans see a team finally acting with purpose. Others see a team paying extra just to feel safe. Both reactions make sense, because this trade forces one brutal question. What is more expensive, the pick you give up now, or the season you waste while you keep searching? Here's how you judge it without getting lost in noise. Juice Scruggs was not turning into the answer in Houston, so the player part of the deal is not what should keep you up. The real debate is what you are buying with that draft value. Because David Montgomery is not a mystery back, you know what he is. You are paying for a steady runner who can take hits, keep the offense on schedule, and give the Texans a real identity when the game gets tight. The Lions were not giving him away for free, and Houston clearly believed waiting would cost them more than acting early. But the final grade cannot be given yet, not even close. The next few moves decide everything, because if Houston finds the right protection in front of C.J. Stroud, this trade looks like a clean step forward. If they do not, it becomes a story about cost, with nothing to show for it. And that is why the real suspense starts now. Who gets reworked for cap space, who gets moved out, and which names, like Nico Collins, Derek Stingley, Danielle Hunter, and Dalton Schultz, become part of the next wave, because the Texans are not done. They are just getting started. Houston is not finished, not even close, because the first trades are just the door opening. The real chaos starts when the offseason officially turns into a live market and every team starts calling at once. That is when plans get tested. That is when a good idea either becomes a clean build or it turns into a scramble. And for the Texans, the pressure is simple. You cannot make bold moves early, then freeze when the real shopping begins. Here's what decides if this week becomes a win, and it is not one single signing. It is whether Houston can protect their quarterback without needing magic every snap, whether they can keep the defense dangerous in the moments that flip games, and whether they can stop wasting chances in the tight part of the field. That is the hidden scoreboard for this offseason. Not hype, not headlines, just whether the team becomes harder to play against when the game gets ugly and the clock gets loud. So keep your eyes on the next few days, not for one big name, but for the pattern. Watch what positions they attack first. Watch what they pay for, and watch what they refuse to pay for. Because once you see that pattern, you will know the real plan, and you will also know what surprise move could hit next. The kind of move nobody sees coming until it is already done.